Imagine you weigh 11 grams, less than a folded piece of paper, less than a single coin. Now imagine it's 2 in the morning. The temperature outside has dropped below freezing. The wind cuts through everything. Snow covers every branch, every seed, every patch of ground where you used to find food, and you have no house, no blanket, no heater, just feathers, and a heart beating 300 times a minute trying to keep your body warm enough to see the sunrise. That is the reality of every bird in your backyard each time a brutal winter arrives. And what they do to survive that night, and the next, and the next, is so ingenious, so precise, so emotionally costly, that after this video you will never look at your bird feeder the same way again. But there is a secret that the birds in your backyard carry through the coldest nights, a secret most people never imagine. And that is exactly what we're going to uncover together by the end of this video. Let's start with the real problem, because when we think about cold, we think about discomfort, about grabbing a coat, a hot drink, a blanket. But for a small bird, a goldfinch, a sparrow, a chickadee, cold is not discomfort. Cold is an active predator, working against the body minute by minute. The metabolism of a small bird is an extraordinary and demanding machine. To maintain a body temperature around 106 degrees Fahrenheit, the normal temperature of a healthy bird, it must burn energy constantly. It's as if you had to run on a treadmill all night long just to avoid dying of hypothermia. And here is the number that always leaves me speechless. On a very cold winter night, a small bird can lose up to 10% of its body weight in thermal energy alone. 10% in a single night. Think about that. It's as if a 150-pound person woke up 13 pounds lighter every winter morning and had to recover all of it before dark again. If the next day is overcast with little food available, the math doesn't work, and the bird does not survive. So how do they do it? How do these creatures of just a few grams solve a problem that would kill an unprepared human being in hours? The first answer is one of the most elegant solutions nature has ever invented: huddling. When the temperature drops, birds cluster together, not randomly, with surprising precision. Species that are normally territorial, that would spend an entire day defending space from one another, at night press together inside a tree cavity or a dense shrub and form a compact ball of warm bodies. Researchers at the University of Montana documented groups of wrens, a bird weighing less than 12 grams, crowding together in groups of up to 55 individuals inside a single tree cavity during extreme winter nights. 55 birds, one hole, each one giving a little warmth, each one receiving it back. It is a silent survival agreement, an instinctive truce between animals that, come morning, will go back to competing. Have you ever set aside a conflict with someone because the circumstances were bigger than the argument? The birds in your backyard do that every winter night. If you're also fascinated by these small miracles happening right in front of you and want to better understand the visitors to your backyard, consider subscribing and liking the video. That's how this message reaches more people who want to care for birds the right way. The second adaptation is even more impressive because it involves something we tend to associate only with mammals: conscious control of circulation. When the cold intensifies, birds activate a system called countercurrent heat exchange. The blood vessels carrying warm blood down to the legs run side by side with the vessels bringing cold blood back up to the body. Heat transfers from one to the other before the cold blood ever reaches the vital organs. The result? A bird's feet on a freezing night may be just 1 or 2 degrees above zero, while the heart and lungs remain at 106 degrees. They are capable of letting parts of their own body come close to freezing in order to protect the vital core. Imagine having that kind of control over your own body, deciding instinctively what is essential and what can be temporarily sacrificed to survive. But perhaps the most astonishing adaptation is the one that happens in the mind, not the body. There is a phenomenon called nocturnal controlled hypothermia. Some birds, like hummingbirds, but also certain sparrow and finch species, are capable of actively lowering their own body temperature during the night. Instead of spending energy maintaining 106 degrees, they let the body drop to 97, 93, sometimes even lower. The heart slows. breathing decreases. They enter a state that is almost a light torpor, not the deep sleep of a hibernating bear, but something between sleep and conscious lethargy. And in the morning, before heading out to feed, they restart their metabolism. They warm their own bodies from the inside out, as if switching on an internal heater. This process takes minutes, and it is critical. A bird that leaves too cold for the icy morning air before fully rewarming may not have enough energy to reach your feeder. It is one of nature's most daring gambles, conserving energy at night in order to have enough energy to make it to dawn. And here we arrive at the third element, the most human of all, and perhaps the most overlooked. Birds like jays, finches, and sparrows don't survive winter on biology alone. They survive on information. Months before the cold arrives, while there is still abundance, they begin mapping the territory. Every berry-bearing shrub, every gutter with standing water, every feeder with a reliable supply of seeds. Researchers at the University of Cambridge found that the hippocampus, the brain region associated with spatial memory, physically grows in some species during autumn. The brain literally expands to store more maps. Then, after winter, it shrinks back again. They carry an atlas inside their heads, and the most marked points on that atlas, the most reliable, most visited, the ones that never failed, are precisely the backyards where people put out feeders regularly. Speaking of which, have you ever noticed the same birds returning to your backyard every winter, or seen them behaving differently when the temperature drops? Tell me in the comments. I read everything, and I love understanding what's going on in their minds. And now, the moment has come to reveal that secret I mentioned at the very beginning. The secret that the birds in your backyard carry through the coldest nights of the year. It isn't a biological adaptation. It isn't an evolutionary trick. It's something far simpler and far more powerful. Not in a sentimental way, in a literal, physiological, survival way. When a small bird memorizes your backyard as a reliable food source, it is including you in its survival calculations. It is betting that when winter comes, when food disappears and the cold closes in, that specific place, your backyard, will have what it needs. That trust carries real weight. A bird that flies 2 miles to a feeder and finds it empty burns energy it may not be able to replace. On a very cold night, that energy can be the difference between waking up and not waking up. You don't need to do anything extraordinary to be part of these birds' survival. Just keep the feeder clean and full. Just make sure there's liquid water available even on frozen mornings. Just be present in a predictable, consistent way for creatures that depend on predictability to survive. In all my years of watching birds, what moves me most is not the extraordinary adaptations, though they are breathtaking. What moves me most is the scale of the struggle. 11 grams against winter. A tiny heart beating 300 times a minute in the dark. An atlas of memories mapped inside a brain the size of a pea. And in the middle of all that, your backyard window, your feeder, you. We are not just observers. We are part of the ecosystem. And every seed you place in the feeder on a winter morning is, literally, a life sustained. So tell me, after all of this, when you look out the window tomorrow morning and see that sparrow on the feeder, what will you feel?